AmandaLand, AmandaLand, AmandaLand. Good morning. I think I hear you. Good morning. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand, your news and truths by any joke necessary. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. If you are watching on Instagram, you can come on over to YouTube and join us where the real show goes down. Good morning, everybody. Wait, what was I going to do? We're going to do a critical thinking exercise. Oh, I had a question for y'all. Here's a question for y'all. Okay? If I choose to join a gang and I say, now listen, I'm not gonna stop what y'all doing, but y'all can use me to make it look like y'all ain't doing what y'all doing. Am I still to be held accountable for the behaviors of that gang? Okay, let's see. Let's see what y'all say. Cassie said guilty. Yes. All right. All right. Hema said absolutely. Anita said absolutely. Okay, so I can't even I can't even. So y'all all agree. Okay. So y'all all agree. So that is what becoming the president is. All right? That is what becoming the president is. And no, being the president is not the same as being a representative of the people. You are a representative of the country. I don't believe in devil's advocates. The devil don't need one. So that's what it is. That's what it is. Hey, Figgy Quinn, y'all remember anybody who comes from IG over here, big them up, welcome them. Welcome to this community we got over here. Someone said, are they used or intentional? Are they used or intentional? Well, if you know what's happening and you don't stop it, but you still allow yourself to be a representation of it to dissuade folks from paying attention to what's happening, I would say that's intentional. So, you know, like I heard this morning that I'm apparently going viral, which I'm not going viral. I'm literally just caught up in the loop of the folks who still believe in the sanctity of the presidential office, which I do not. I also, you know, saw how the Shade Room does what they do, which in their effort to be a tool of weaponization against Black people, cut and edited up my words. Because they can't show a video of what I'm actually saying. They always have to chop and screw it. They always have to chop and screw it. And it's like, if you're not going to actually show what I actually said, then why are you posting it? By the way, I have told them, I have asked them several times, do not post me. Do not use me as a tool of pushing your pedagogy. Do not. And they continue to do so, which in my opinion is an indicator of their continued effort to be a divisive force. So, yeah. And I will use chop and screw as a pejorative as I please. Rest in peace to DJ Screw. So I find it very problematic on multiple levels that one, places like the Shade Room continue to exist, and two, that folks continue to support them and not realize that they're being manipulated. But, you know, you talking to somebody who was smear campaigned. So I have a strong countenance. You know, the other thing too is that I find it fascinating that people will say things like what Sandy said, that a friend said she makes it hard for people to like her. I make it hard for sheep to like me. I make it hard for people who want to be in the willful ignorance of America to like me. I do. I make it incredibly difficult. I do. Because I am not interested in you liking me. I have not any interest in people who have no interest in the truth liking me. Because if you're not interested in the truth, it doesn't matter if you like me. Because that means that no matter what is said, you're going to go along with whatever serves you, not what will protect me. So I'm not interested in if you like me. Your character is, diminished. But as my girl Melissa said, I make it really easy for people who want to evolve and learn and become a better human to like me. So those are the people I want around me. And I love Donna Townsend, who said, "What is the Shade Room?" I want to live your life, Donna Townsend. Say, what is the Shade Room? It's literally what it says. It's a room of shade. I will say though, there's a thing that happens on Instagram where people have I see a lot of this on Instagram where folks have given themselves a certain level of aplomb by just being a follower of a page on Instagram. Like people will say things like, "Oh, you're trying to cop a plea," or "Look at you doing damage control." And I'm like, for what? like damage control of what? I am controlling on whether or not I've damaged something with y'all? Cut it out. Cut it out. The irony of this too is that I am not saying anything different than other intellects as well. It's just that because I'm saying it, it's a problem. But I am an intellect. So, but yeah, oh yeah, y'all. They definitely was over there saying like, I'm trying to cop a plea. And I'm like, who am I copping the plea from? Y'all? Why? Why do I care? Why do I care about y'all copping a plea? No, Sanfranicoya, I don't care if you don't like me. Why do I care? What is wrong with you people that care so much about being liked by people that you, one, don't even know, or two, don't even share the same values with? Free yourself. Free yourself. For real. For real. Just alleviate yourself of that burden. Because it really is just a burden and it's been put on you and you don't need to accept it. If people don't like you because you are hurting them, address it. If people don't like you because you are harmful, address it. Now, if people don't like you because you hurting their feelings, because you're telling a truth that is an inconvenient truth, If you don't want me, then don't talk to me. Go ahead and free yourself. I also think we have a very romanticized version of Black resistance in this nation. And we love to act like the masses of Black people have been resistant. And that is not true. That is not true. We have seen folks who have risen up. We have seen individuals that cut through. However, if the masses of Black people had actually risen up, then this country would not look the way it does right now. And that is a fact. And there are a multitude of reasons why the masses of Black people did not rise up, okay? So I'm not placing blame. I'm just stating that there is a reality to that. So when we do this thing where we act as if, well, in the past, everybody was rising up, that's not true. And in the present, when you rise up, you see how many people try to tear you down. And you understand that this is a continued thread. This is a continued trend. And it was by design. They want it sanitized, like Hamid said. It's by design. They want people to respect a certain behavior that they have deemed acceptable. And you have so many versions of what that is. So, I think there have been very many versions of rising up. I mean, a great resource to see that is Robin D.G. Kelly's book, Race Rebels, that discusses a myriad of examples of how Black people have done resistance in loud and in silent ways. However, the concept of like loud truth telling and, pushing back forcefully, that has not happened in the massive numbers that people want to pretend has happened. And even if the massive numbers have existed, let's say that, there have always been sellouts. There have always been coons who will willfully get in the way. Whether it's somebody saying they went that way, boss, or somebody saying don't vote for Zoran because he is not supporting a Black woman, knowing full well that they're lying. There's always somebody who is willing to weaponize their Blackness for their own self-preservation and put Black people in danger. And those somebodies have now also become corporations. They have also become media pages, etc. So there's always an effort. And this is not just Black American. This is international. Okay? Whether we're talking about Bernard Court in Grenada, or we're talking about dude that brought down Lumumba or Sankara, or buddy that was working for the FBI and brought down Fred Hampton, there's always somebody willing to say, yeah, either because they feel like they know better or because they feel like they can do better, but they're willing to sacrifice somebody that they came up with in order to come up, in order to get over. So the reality is what it is. I'm not making it up. I'm not trying to sway it. We have had several forms of resistance in this nation. We have also had several forms of going along with the get along. And let me just tell you, in my past, I dated hustlers, and I'm embarrassed about that because basically I went along with the lie that they told themselves, which is, well, if I don't sell it to them, then somebody else is going to sell it. And I would go along with that as if that was somehow an excusable rhetoric for poisoning your own people for your own gain. And it was inexcusable. Completely. And And we know that they pumped drugs into the hoods in the 80s for two reasons. They did this in the 70s too. First it was heroin, and then it was, crack. But they've done this in other nations. They've done this with other groups. But we know that they've done this when they see people getting too aware. When they see people getting too informed. And the Black Power movement of the 60s, of the late 60s and the 70s was also coupled, and a lot of people need to understand this, was also coupled with the Black Arts movement. And the Black Arts movement was a concerted effort by Black creatives to say that our work is not going to simply entertain you. It's going to educate you. It's going to edutain you. Amir Baraka, Gil Scott-Heron, The Last Poets, to name a few. That was dangerous. And the next thing you know, they said, well, we need some money under the table to go pay these mercenaries in, what was it, Nicaragua? So let's go mess up these Black hoods. And I think what a lot of us are not really realizing is that the result of that is what has created an insatiable appetite for capitalism. And that insatiable appetite for capitalism keeps us in a cycle that does not allow us for our own collective liberation. So they can hate me for saying that Kamala was not serving them by doing a BS campaign. She used every Black woman who voted for her. She used you because she did not try her hardest. Let me not even say her. The Democrats did not try their hardest to win that campaign. They just used you. But they did not try their hardest to win that campaign. And they're continuing to use you because they're trying to convince you that you are their power base while they continue to keep you powerless. And I don't just sit up here on a mic. I'm in the streets. I'm in the venues. I was up last night. I couldn't even sleep last night because I came up with a new idea for another show. So now you have this idiot right here, Pretty Britty. She says, if you can do better, maybe you should run. And I just wonder how somebody who says that thinks that they have the intellectual level to address me about this. See, I don't go at people that I know more than me about a topic because I know that I am not equipped. Where do you all get that ego and audacity? What is it about me that makes you think I'm the one to come at sideways? I don't understand. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If you think you can do better, maybe you should run. Like, that is, are we really, I know you are, but what am I-ing? It's just not a practical thought process. And she said I was being serious, not idiotic. And that's what makes you idiotic, sis. And you should be listening. You should be listening. You should do less talking and more listening. You should do less talking and more listening. Dick Gregory cursed me out because I asked him a question in the middle of him talking, and I didn't understand it at the time. And I cursed him out back and left the room. I should have been listening. I should have been shutting up and listening. That's what I should have been doing. But my, self-affirmed ego felt like, yeah, we're here at the same time, so I can ask questions while he's talking and I can be a part. No, shut up. Shut up. I should have been listening. And I missed out on the knowledge that he had because I wasn't listening. And sure, he was an acerbic person, right? He was incredibly brusque and he really had no patience. And I would venture to say he was clearly neurodivergent by the amount of information that he could store and that he could process and that he could synthesize and that he could share. And when you are neurodivergent, there are certain things that you, baby, cannot manage. And one of those things is an interruption. When you are in an info dump, do not interrupt. Do not interrupt me. Please. And, you know, in my maturity, in my maturation, in my own wisdom gathering, I have learned I should have been quiet and sat at the foot of the elder to listen. He knew more than me. And it's not to say that I don't know things. And it's not to say that I don't have anything to add to the conversation. But in that situation, I could have shut up. And Pharisees, listen, my volume is I already talk at a loud decibel. So once you interrupt me, I get louder. I get louder. You know, and active and reflective listening, to your point. This must be a Greek name. Tisitsiki erendia griego. Tisitsiki erendia griego. Says active and reflective listening is a beautiful gift. And it truly is. And we don't do enough of it. And we have empowered folks to really consider intellectuals as elitists. Mind you, we empower politicians as the elite, even though many of them are not intellectuals. Just because you went to college doesn't mean you're an intellectual. Just because you went to college does not mean you are an intellectual. Are you using information to consider new things? Are you synthesizing concepts to create new understanding? And just because you're an intellectual doesn't make you an activist or a revolutionary or a part of the resistance. Are your intellectualisms applied in action? Are you giving people action? And sometimes the action is just giving people thought, by the way. And yes, Jonathan Gonzalez, I'd argue running for office and being a U.S. politician vehemently belies intellectualism. Yes, Zoe, I said I was done with Instagram, and now I'm here. Didn't you say you were done with me? How about you unfollow me? The level of ignorance. You should be thanking me for coming back. And actually, there's actually been many people who have thanked me. So let me pay attention to them. Let me pay attention to them. So Rolando, can you please remove Lifetree? Rolando or Elijah or Sandy, please remove this person from the chat. So yes, people are trying to argue because they're mad. They're mad because I disrupt. You know, like when Obama ran for office, Tavis Smiley and Cornel West were vehemently like loud about saying like we should be like challenging him, and people were very upset. And I was one of those people because I was like, why would you get in the way of a black man being president? But I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. And there wasn't anyone telling me I didn't know any better in a way that I was able to receive, if memory serves me correct. Like, I'm sure there were people on Twitter that were like trying to correct me, but those are like faceless people, right? So it's like, if But if somebody in my circle was able to make it make sense for me, or somebody that I already regarded and respected was able to make sense for me, then I would have listened to them. Absolutely. But what happens on the internet is that people will tell you you're wrong and not tell you why. And like right now, I had made a comment on Al Jazeera about this woman who was on Iranian state TV who was literally still on camera while they were being bombed. And I don't know what she was saying, but she was not moving while they were being bombed. And I said, this is an example of living in purpose. Salams to this woman. And the amount of people in the comments who are like, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to shut up. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, okay, if I don't know what I'm talking about, please correct me. But correcting does not exist in insulting. That's not a correction. Literally, the episode of this week's Small Doses podcast is Loving Corrections with Adrienne Marie Jones. Loving corrections. So it's like it doesn't help anybody to, unless they're Zionist, but it doesn't help anyone to simply just insult somebody for not knowing. You can't, okay, this is what I mean. If you tell somebody if somebody says something and you feel like they're saying this out of ignorance, and your response to them is, you're ignorant, I want you to know that the word ignorant means I don't know, like the person just doesn't know. So if they're ignorant, like, tell them. The reason why your support of this person is incendiary is because this person represents XYZ. Funna. No, I did not endorse any candidate for president. I don't endorse candidates, period. For president, for school board, I don't endorse nobody. I endorse education. I don't endorse none of these people. So, I think that's the thing that we do here in the AmandaLand, and with the AmandaLanders, that's the thing that we do. And people are like, well, what are your views on Obama? I mean, honestly, I don't need to explain to you my views on Obama. You need to explain to me your views on Obama. Why do you support, why are you so in love with Obama? What is the reason? I don't owe you an explanation. I've explained that many, many times. And I am not unique in that constant. So I'm not going to keep explaining that. You want to listen to yesterday's episode? Go check it out. I don't even know what this means. Don't not endorse Colombia, though. I don't even know what that means. Don't not endorse Colombia. What? People do vote on cult of personality. Absolutely. People do vote on cult of personality. People vote based on their own individual needs. People vote based on, people vote basically, wait, Jamie Foxx was in the comments. I mean, again, like, these people don't know as much as I do. So I'm not going to care about what they think. And that's what I need y'all to understand. I'm not going to care about what they think. If Jeffrey Sachs comes in here and tells me why I should love Obama, if Cornel West comes here and tells me why I should love Obama, if Rua Benjamin comes here and tells me why I should love Obama, if Angela Davis comes here and tells me why I should love Obama, If Dr. Jared Ball comes here and tells me why I should love Obama, then I'm going to listen. Jamie Foxx is an incredible performer and actor. I do not consider him somebody that is a voice of knowledge and expertise on this topic. I'd love for him to give me piano lessons. So I think it's great to have you guys here at the Views from AmandaLand show. But yes, Vanessa, that's why people love Obama, because they're like, he's the first black president of a racist country. Let me tell you who I am, okay? Real quick. Let me just tell you who I am, real quick. When I got my HBO comedy special, everyone was like, oh my gosh, you're only the second black woman to get an HBO comedy special. That's incredible. They were looking at this as an accomplishment, right? That's incredible. And I was like, that's shameful. That is shameful. Because that suggests that there hasn't been a series, a multitude of black women comedians that have come before. So when I see Black Firsts in 2025, I mean, that was 2008, but when I see Black Firsts, I be like, this is real. It sends a message that we weren't already excellent. And that's what I talk about in What Would the Ancestors Say? Sometimes Black Firsts presents us in this context that our ability to break through the barriers of white supremacy is, I feel like it's supposed to acknowledge our greatness, but in a large way, it excuses racism. And it almost like it suggests that we are in a fair fight. No, 2008 was when Obama was elected, is what I'm saying. But it suggests that we are in a fair fight. You know what I mean? And to be quite honest, our Black excellence is so deep. It's so deep. Our Black excellence is in our DNA. It's in our bodies. It's in our soil. It's in those of us who managed to make it across that middle passage. It's those of us who said, F y'all, I'd rather be with the sea. It's those of us who said, we're going to mutiny. I don't even speak your language, brother, but we gonna make eye contact and figure out how to throw these crackers over this deck. And one of the biggest disservices that we do to each other is suggesting that identifying the ways in which Black people have been accomplices to the expansion of empire is suggesting that is anti-Black. And it simply is not. It is very pro-Black. And if you did any research, then you would know that all the pro-Blacks that y'all love to herald are in exact alignment with me, because I am the descendant of them. I am the descendant of Black radicalism. And it's not just me, but I am one of. I come from Malcolm. I come from James. I come from Martin Luther King once he wrote, where do we go from here? I come from Sankara. That's where I come from. Those are not just faces. Those are not just people who are the subject of films. Those are not just quotes that come about, at opportune times. These were full, expansive human beings that existed on multiple levels in various ways. As public figures, as heads of their family, as community members, etc. And when we fail to acknowledge that, we also allow ourselves to now then be colonialized into the oppressor's version of who these people are. So, we must increase our bust. And some people say, well, why are you always talking? Because first of all, every astrologist has told me that that's literally what my stars are aligned for me to do. But also because I'm a firm believer that if you hear something enough times, it will call you to action. So there's that. Shall we find out where you guys are watching us from? If you are watching on Instagram, I implore you to come on over to YouTube Amanda Seales TV and to be quiet for at least 20 minutes. You about to miss the theme song. Hey! Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Love to see Meg in the chat. Love to see Melly in the chat. And Patricia and Miss Debbie and Cassie. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Hey, hey, hey. Aloha from the Bay, Memphis, Tennessee, Portland, Oregon, Philly, Albuquerque, Atlanta, North Carolina, Las Terranas, DR. Wow! Greenville, North Carolina, Houston, Tejas, Paris, Louisville, Kentucky, Merlin, Daniel Island, North Carolina, Medellin, Colombia, the Bronx, España, Duval, Fahad is in Saudi Arabia, Lester is walking the dog in Jersey, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Vietnam, Pasadena, Altadena, Pismo Beach, and Corona, California, Liverpool, UK, Fredericksburg, Virginia, Quebec City, Kampala, Uganda, International, AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Reese is in sunny London, St. Louis, Long Beach, California. Sarah is still in Czechoslovakia, Berkeley, California. Detroit, the 313, Tampa, Florida, Sunnyvale, California, San Diego, Madison, Wisconsin, Watley, Alabama, West LA, St. Martin, Dutch Caribbean, San Antonio, Tejas. We are in New Orleans, España. And we got a lot of Tennessee in here today, don't we? Mexico City, St. Martin. What else we got? We got Connecticut, Manchester, and the chat is lagging, but we're still on time. Fresno, California, New Jersey, Boston, Toronto, and Boring, Iowa. AmandaLanders here to learn. Thank you for telling me where you watching from. Shout out to Pookie Wood coming over from good old Instagram. When you come on over from Instagram, let us know so we can welcome you. Let us know so we can welcome you in. All right, let's get into our word of the day. The world. Oh, this is an interesting one. The word of the day is Pusillanimous. 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 It is an adjective meaning cowardly. Pusillanimous is an adjective meaning cowardly. Now you know where my head is going every time I say this. Pusillanimous. Pusillanimous. Why am I 12? Why am I 12? You being real pusillanimous. Which is that the etymology for? Hold up. Is that the etymology for someone being pusillanimous? Y'all, is that the etymology? I'ma say it is. You being wow. Antia Comesania said that it is. I think we just solved a real mystery. That, wow. Pusillanimous. Adjective, cowardly. Is that where that slang came from? Fascinating. Truly fascinating. Use it in a sentence. I am not pusillanimous about defending myself. No, I'm not. I will say what needs to get said. All right. Celine said the president moves are truly pusillanimous. Yes. CPCC 06 says the pusillanimous knight fled the battlefield at the first sign of danger, leaving his comrades behind. Yes. Tsutsiki says straight up, I'm not pusillanimous. I'm just not. All right, you better know yourself. Let's go. Deetra says choosing to just accept and go along with the status quo is real pusillanimous. It sure is. Leah says, Lay says our pusillanimous Democratic Party bows to the ultra rich. You better know that they do. They sure do. Sean Rook says liberals can be pusillanimous because they don't want to dive deeper out of their comfort. Absolutely. Rishla is Lee. Got it. Rishla says as soon as the other world leaders turn on Trump, he pusillanimous is going to get us killed. The proper way to use it in this sentence would be as soon as the other world leaders turn on Trump, his pusillanimous demeanor will get us all killed. I think that's a way to use it. All right. Delisa Lee says, I'm pusillanimous when it comes to snakes and spiders. I get it. And Meg says, this late stage capitalism has been brought to you by a pusillanimous group of white oligarchs. And there we have it. That's the word pusillanimous. Pusillanimous. All right. Pusillanimous. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to get into what do we expect from Democrats. We talked about this yesterday, and I asked you to put your thinking cap on. What do we expect from Democrats in the cities that Trump is going to be targeting for ICE deportations? Also, we're going to be talking about this whole Iran situation and giving you some back history on that. And we're going to talk about the new albums from Sims and Salt. I mean, the Salt album came out in April, but it's new to me. So we're going to get into all of that, as well as talking about Melissa Horton, the Democrat representative who was unalived this week, and the fact that she was a high-quality white. Yeah. And I did not know her work, but I think particularly in in this context, it's imperative that we lift her up. So we're going to get into all of that. So if you are watching on Instagram, come on over to YouTube, Amanda Seales TV, and we're going to start our day with a critical thinking exercise, if you don't mind. Actually, before we do that, this episode is brought to you by Small Doses Podcast. Small Doses Podcast is my podcast that I've been doing for 7 years. And this week we had Adrienne Marie Brown on the show, and we talked about side effects of loving corrections. Check it out. Conversation happened directly with somebody today. I had expressed concern and their response was just kind of very laissez-faire. And I had to lovingly correct and say, like, this is a real concern and I'm not sharing it with you casually because it's not a casual time. And he called me today and was like, okay, so we're not going to text no more, because he was like, I realize that I am not effective on text. We work together, but he was like, I feel like I'm still learning your language and learning your needs. And he said something that was very interesting. He was like, you know, some people's temperature needs to be told and some people's temperature needs to be read. Period. And he was like, you're somebody whose temperature needs to be read. Like, you want people to be like, I see this, because he's like, you're expressing so much. And so we had a really great conversation though, where I gained a second person that I feel like I can be like, hey, this is fucking with me today. So make sure to check that out wherever you get your podcasts. And we're about to get into a critical thinking exercise. This is one of my favorite intros on this whole daggone show. AmandaLand. Let's get it. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. All right, let's get into today's critical thinking exercise. I asked you yesterday to consider what you want from Democrat leaders in the cities that Trump is targeting, what you want them to do, and how you're going to hold them accountable. Now, some people might be like, Amanda, what even is you talking about? What do you mean Democrat cities that Trump is targeting? And baby, we got to get into that. So maybe if you don't know, you about to know, because this guy literally said it very, very clearly. Here's the image right here. This is the tweet that he posted. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to read the highlighted section where he says, in order to achieve this, and by achieve this, he means fulfilling his mandate to the American people, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. That's not true. These and other cities are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base. Okay, first of all, illegal aliens cannot vote, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hard-working American citizens. So just real quick, let's point out some flaws here. First of all, the folks that are using welfare the most are white Americans. They are also, and I don't mean that simply because they are the largest number of people here. I mean, percentage-wise of their population, they use the most welfare. Second, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. So you can be hardworking, but if you are not highly skilled, those two things are not the same thing. Now, if somebody is getting a job because they have a skill that you do not have, it is your responsibility to go and get those skills. And we have also, by the way, seen, I don't know, I feel like I have like a spider web on my nose. We have also, by the way, seen white people do this in reverse. So, there's this argument that, oh, black people learned skills in slavery that really, made slavery a good thing. No, that's not what made slavery a good thing, but two things can be true at one time. Yes, people learned like blacksmithing and carpentry, etc., while they were enslaved. They were forced to. However, once the Emancipation Proclamation happened and these black people were now free, they were not then hired in their skills. No, they were actually kept out of those jobs. White people then formed unions and also kept black people out of the unions. Then when black people would try and still get jobs because the unions would then go on strike and the black people would be like, well, I'm willing to work, they would then lynch them. So every accusation is a confession. All right? That doesn't just apply to Israel. Every accusation is a confession. And when we talk about benefits, illegal aliens are not getting benefits that hardworking American citizens are not getting. Now, there have been sideways efforts to actually trick illegal aliens into coming in here and then giving them things to sow seeds of discord. Remember when we saw those folks coming in that were being bused to random places? Then they were given housing and they were given like what's it called? They were given everything that Trump gave the South Africans who are not fleeing a genocide. Do you remember that? Does everyone remember that? And people were livid. People were livid. People were like, oh my gosh, they're giving these illegal aliens things that they're not giving us. They were livid. And now those same illegal aliens have been considered the enemy. I know it's undocumented immigrants, Kimberland. He's calling them illegal aliens. That's what I'm referring to. So those same people are who they are incarcerating. Like, this is basic divide and conquer. This is basic divide and conquer. And as I watched it happen, I knew it was happening and I talked about it. And I said, they're sowing seeds of discord. Why are you? It's like if your man cheats on you, why are you mad at the chick he cheated on? You should be mad at your man. Why are you mad at immigrants for accepting what's being given to them? Be mad at who's giving it to them. This is basic to me, but we don't do that. We don't do that. They played you. They play us all the time because we have a righteous anger and they flip it on us all the time. He goes on to say, these radical left Democrats, that is an oxymoron, are sick of mind, hate our country, and actually want to destroy our inner cities. And they are doing a good job of it. There is something wrong with them. That is why they believe in open borders. Democrats very earnestly do not believe in open borders. Transgender for everybody. And men playing in women's sports. So that's just transphobic regardless. And that is why I want ICE, which is the Gestapo, Border Control, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers, or as they like to call them in Utah, peacekeepers, to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in our heartland. Okay, so many of these sanctuary cities, first of all, are in metropolises that are at ports. They're on coasts. There's sanctuary cities may not be in the same numbers in the heartland because it's literally in the middle of the country. It's harder to get to. They don't even have international flights often. So furthermore, crime is a statistic that they like to play with to make people scared. And I know that if you're experiencing crime, you're like, well, yeah, but I'm experiencing it. I also think, Elijah, I know you didn't just say that like it was a revelation. Muriel Bowser was never not compromised when she, as mayor. I think it's really important to note that when it comes to crime, the way that crime statistics are managed and reported are really not uniform and rarely done by independent agencies. They are quite often reflective of ways to which they're just simply done for the purpose of gaining some type of political gain or funding. And the idea that we can trust any of these numbers, just bar none, when they're particularly coming from agencies or institutions that we know do not have a vested interest in truth telling, is nonsensical. So we always have to consider the variables. It's not to say that some of it isn't true, but we always have to consider the variables. And yes, as Joni says here, crime stats are easily manipulated. So like, here's an example. They had found that, I can't remember if it was Jersey, the state, or if it was a particular city in Jersey, but there were crime statistics that were fudged because they had all these arrests, but they had only reported the arrests all as Black people, even though they were not. So like when people went and matched like the faces of the names, like the mugshots of the names to the ethnicity or to the race, I should say, that they were claiming they were, it didn't match. So you'll see me constantly question polls and stats, etc., because there's just been so many examples of it not being done in legitimate, honest, independent ways. Even when we see like the poll stats that we see these days, like that Nate Silver puts together around around politics and around elections, those are essentially from a framework of sports statistics and looking at politics like it's sports. Oh, Elijah, I thought you should know better than this. Why? Come on now. Muriel Bowser ain't never been for the people. I don't know. Never. So people saying immigrants can vote, immigrants are getting Social Security, they cannot get Social Security. I will also say this though. This nation is, don't ask questions that you can Google, please. Do not ask questions you can Google. I've seen a number of questions in here that people can Google. Do not ask questions that you can Google. We have to train ourselves to be self-sufficient. There's what was I going to call it? What was I about to say? I lost my train of thought. I can't remember. Anywho, so with that said, this is a call saying, okay, Democrats, we are out here coming for you. Now, up until this point, we've had an entire 6 months now where we're seeing Democrats side with Donald Trump in terms of going, like, they just signed, you know, like, hey, thank you to ICE. Thank you to ICE. We've seen that. Well, what happens now? And so I want to know from you guys, what do you want from your Democrat leaders? Now, here is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson.
And I'm offering to the people of Chicago, I'm going to stand up and protect the people of this city against every threat from this administration. And I hope the rest of the people in this room in the city of Chicago takes his threat as seriously as I do. Undermining public accommodations, going after undocumented people, it's a threat to our civility and to our democracy.
So that's what I was going to say. You can hate on immigrants all you want. It is not in your best interest. It literally does not have any support to your goals. This is a nation that has been built on that. And for all intents and purposes, for the size of this country, it is imperative. So for anyone who doesn't like immigrants, I'm just like, I don't know what are you even basing that on? Because you've never experienced a nation as the United States without them. At any point, the United States has used immigrants, has benefited from immigrants on so many facets. So there really is no real argument for this. If you're a Black American person and you have an issue with immigrants, do you have an issue with Marcus Garvey? Do you have an issue with Shirley Chisholm? Do you have an issue with hip hop? I just, because literally at the core of hip hop are first generation immigrants. Well, I can never remember. First generation Americans. Malcolm X's mother is from Grenada. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is Trinidadian. Stokely Carmichael is Trinidadian. So the problem isn't that we're a nation of immigrants. The problem is that there has been a systemic discord that has been sown to now create a new lower class. And I don't think a lot of Black people understand that they are being used as the next, to further the next wave of white supremacy. White supremacy is only useful if it expands its meaning. It continuously has to expand its meaning to be able to include others so that it can exist. But in order for white supremacy to exist, it needs a bottom enforcer. It needs a bottom enforcer. And so right now, we have seen for quite some time how Black people have been the most targeted for incarceration, disproportionately. We are still being used in labor camps and for low-wage labor that we are not compensated for because of the 13th Amendment. However, now, if you watch this video, you'll see that there is a rhetoric that says, you can have other people do it if you help us.
If you're wondering why they're going after day laborers and farm workers, it's because of this. Last week, my friend Jose told me he has to work 5 days just to make one phone call with his family. I was like, what? Jose's this classic working class dad, big muscles, big smile. He loves playing soccer with his kids. Unfortunately, he's also an immigrant farm worker, and one day while coming home from the fields, I swung by and picked him up. I met Jose in an immigration detention center where I volunteered to give folks legal advice. The facility Jose is in charges him $5 to make a phone call. How does he pay for them? Well, he works. For a full day of work in this immigration detention center, they pay him $1. So he has to work a full week to make one phone call with his kids. So if you're wondering why they're going after day laborers and farm workers, this is the big reason why. American businesses don't want to pay these hardworking immigrants the minimum wage. They want to pay them $1 a day. And by the way, these immigration detention centers aren't run by the federal government. They're run by private for-profit prison companies who exploit the people inside to make billions in profit and then donate it back to Trump and the Republican Party. This has never been about deporting criminals. This is about slavery.
Yes. This is about slavery. And they would rather use you to enslave others than give you reparations. ICE has used up so much money that they're supposedly supposed to run out of their allotted budget in a month. In a month. So they've had the money to do this, but they didn't have the money to give you reparations. Now, someone said something that I thought was interesting. Vibrate Higher said, immigrants is a misnomer in this country. We are a nation of asylum seekers, refugees, migrant workers, and transglobal economic contributors. Colonizers like the concise mislabeling, though. I think there is truth to that. I mean, I think there's also a lot of folks who came to this country, particularly because they were somewhere that they felt like they didn't have access to. I guess that's what transglobal economic, that was a mouthful. That was a mouthful. But like my mom came to this country as a nurse and then has been useful in this country as a nurse. And for what it's worth, the idea that any of these hospitals and any of these nursing homes would be able to run without immigrants, baby. Baby, if you think any of these hospitals and nursing homes would be able to run without Haitians, you out your rabbit mind. Okay? Sac passe, na boule. So cut it out. And that's international, by the way, because they did a whole series of videos. I want to say it was in France where they were, oh, yes, and Filipinos. Filipinos, listen, one thing about a Filipino, they gonna be a nurse. One thing about a Filipino is they gonna be a nurse. Okay? Okay? So if you look at these other countries, same. They did videos where it would be like a group of people and it said, this is what this is how our department would run without immigrants. And then like everybody would walk away. Okay, let's see what this person says. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say Black Americans are adopting the language or the behaviors of the status quo when the relationship Black Americans have with America is so different than whites. That doesn't make any sense. You're not making any sense. So because you have a different relationship with white people, you can't be talking like white people? Is that what you think? Is that what? Sometimes y'all say things that I can't even be like politely intellectual about in my response. because I'm like, because it always starts with, I think you're being, right? And that's where my defense comes in. Because you start with how I'm wrong. I think it's a bit disingenuous. Is it? No, it's not disingenuous. You can 1000% have a different experience with white people as well as be a perpetrator of their language and an arbiter of their ideologies. I mean, as Uzale says right here, I absolutely see Black capitulation to white supremacy ideology. Like I say it like all the time. Like all the time. So that's a great way that you get me to not be wanting to hear what you got to say. Okay. Miss Bless 313, shout out to Detroit, says, because my thing is, as Black people, yes, we have a certain degree learned unhealthy ways. Wait, yes, because my thing as Black people, because my thing is, as Black people, yes, we have to a certain degree learned unhealthy ways to exist as a human from white supremacy. Absolutely. 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 I have heard copious amounts of Black Americans say immigrants need to leave. I have been told as a Black American who has an immigrant mother that I need to go back to the islands. I have been told this by Black Americans who are funded by Republicans, saying to me, you're a coconut and you need to go back to the Caribbean. So that sounds real go back to Africa to me. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds real bad. Go back to Africa to me. You need to go back to the island. Like, so okay. So Mayor Johnson, Mayor Johnson in Chicago said,
and I'm offering to the people of Chicago, I'm going to stand up and protect the people of this city against every threat from this administration. And I hope the rest of the people in this room in the city of Chicago takes his threat as seriously as I do.
So he's saying that he will arrest ICE. Just a side note that I want to make sure that we point out. Yes, Vanessa, those same people are mad that Kamala's not president. Okay. So Mayor Johnson says he will arrest ICE for acting up. What about y'all? What do you want from your Democrat leaders in your cities? If you are in any of these cities, whether it's Chicago, whether it's who else? Whether it's Chicago, whether it's LA, what are some Democrat cities? Whether it is Detroit, name some Democrat cities. Name some Democrat cities. Fabian, this is the plane flying over your head. Whoosh. Y'all be so loud and wrong. It's like bizarre to me. I would never stick my chest out like that. Connecticut, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Providence, Denver, Philly, Dallas. These are all Democrat cities. Baltimore, oh yeah, Brandon. Baltimore, New Jersey is a Democrat. That's a state. Boston, Kate said Philly, even though we have a fake Democrat as a member. Ugh, get Fabian out of here, Elijah. Oakland, New Orleans has a Democrat mayor. I mean, really? Wow. Frisco, Cincinnati, these are all Democrats. Birmingham, Alabama, I know that's a new one. Austin, Tejas, Fort Lauderdale, Cleveland, Richmond, Virginia. So these are all Democrat cities. Rishla, the only person to actually follow the instructions, says, I'm in Chicago and I want my public servants to actively resist ICE, creating sanctuary spaces where migrants can go. So I saw a church I had shown it on here. I saw a church in Oklahoma, or was it Nebraska, that said that they are going to be a sanctuary venue, like a sanctuary space where they are going to protect anyone who comes there. And I think that was really upstanding and really deep in their Christian values. What do you guys want from your Democrat leaders? Anella, is this the first time you've commented? Anella says, I want Mayor Sherelle Parker to move beyond rhetoric about law and order and take a bold public stand for truly protecting people. So can you do me a solid? When you guys post this, can you say what city they're from? She follows up and does say it. It's time for her to speak up, not just about enforcement, but about care, safety, and justice for all Philadelphians. Agreed. Sarah says, I want Dems to apologize for not calling out their own party's anti-immigration policies and legal action against ICE activity in their communities. Okay. Andrew says, Brandon Johnson is doing that in Chicago. He's actually been a solid progressive mayor, admits racist anti-black mayor wave. All right. So yes, we just showed Brandon Johnson. So I want to hear from you guys from the other cities that you're in. Where do you want your Democrats to actually defend? Or what do you want them to do? Up until this point, they've been able to ride the middle. They've been able to be quiet and silent. They've been able to kind of pick and choose. But now he is calling them out very directly in your specific constituency. And I want to hear what you want them to do. And I want to hear what you're going to do to hold them to it. Nellaroni87, I like that name, said, I said earlier I wanted Bennett in Denver to do what he said he was going to do, which was not cooperate with ICE, but he hasn't. I would like them to arrest ICE and anyone who tries. So Vanessa says, I'm in Providence. We are trying to recall our mayor, Brett Smiley. He is a Zionist and bought by real estate lobbyists. Interesting. All right. In California, in Oceanside, Tindo says that their church gave sanctuary to asylum seekers from all over the globe during the Biden immigration access policy. Interesting to note. Gone says, I write my Democrat congresspersons regularly. I want them to first stop being pusillanimous and stand up for the undocumented in our districts. I want them to be visible and accountable to their word. I'm starring that one because we're going to come back to that. Zoo says, I want Mayor Bass in LA to hold the LAPD accountable for attacking peaceful protesters and not support ICE raids. All right, I'm going to push back on this and say, what does that look like? What would she need to do, in your opinion, right? What do you feel would be an example of holding the LAPD accountable? And what do you feel like she as a mayor can do to appease this wish? Sweatshirt Shouty said, I'm in Denver. I want my Democrat leader to stand on the business they claimed they were and enforce the sanctuary city. We just had somebody else in Denver say the same thing. Enforce the sanctuary city they claimed Denver was and provide the proper and legal due process for immigrants. So we want to refresh ourselves with what a sanctuary city is, right? So a sanctuary city is basically a city that says that their local law enforcement will not aid and abet federal law enforcement in their efforts to deport or detain. Stephanie Carter says, in Nashville, our mayor is protecting us against ICE, but I want him to do more for affordable housing and to stop these huge corporations. Okay, I'm specifically talking about ICE. I would love to hear more, Stephanie, about what they're doing. What is the mayor in Nashville doing to protect you guys against ICE? Amu7861 says, I'm in Rockland County, New York, and I want the Dems to defend us with an ironclad force and protect every one of us. Stop paying everyone lip service and lying. Okay, I'm going to push back. What is an example of an ironclad force? This is why this is a critical thinking exercise, because I want us to really consider what we do know and what we don't know, so that we can then go and do the research to find out what it is, so that we can ask for it. So what is considered an ironclad force? What are ways in which they can shift this rhetoric or shift this behavior? Hamid says, St. Louis, I want Mayor Kara Spencer to actually fix the tornado alert system, secure and disperse FEMA funds. We're talking about immigration right now, y'all. We're talking about immigration. What do you want these Democrat leaders to do in response to Trump coming directly at them with ICE and saying, I am coming to your cities and I am going to raid your cities? So Uzale got a bit more specific here and says, I want my electeds to have integrity and stand up for humanitarian and socially progressive policies that benefit regular people in Chicago. Again, I am talking about ICE. This is what this whole conversation is about. This conversation is about ICE. That's what this conversation is about. ICE. That's why I posted this. This is Trump saying, I'm bringing ICE to you because your cities have immigrants that are ruining them. Now, maybe you don't see that as a problem. Let me know. Vanessa says, in Providence, we do have a community defense group that manages ICE alerts to show for sightings and raids. Our mayor and governor want to work with ICE so they can sell buildings to ICE and other feds. I hadn't even considered that. Amu7861 says, stop letting law enforcement work with ICE and protect every one of us from ICE, because they are not just coming after undocumented, they're coming after citizens. We got to get more specific, y'all. We have to get more specific about what we mean when we say protect us. In what way? In what way do we want to be protected? What are ways that we feel like our Democrat leaders can actually protect us in these mayoral, in these city council positions, etc.? What are like real ways? Okay, Raul Rivera says, have our law enforcement be on the streets with journalists when reporting a raid so we can get the full picture and have the law be enforced on these ICE agents. I mean, the reality is that if you are in a sanctuary city and ICE is carrying out a raid, I don't know that that's considered illegal. However, it is illegal if they, one, are not allowing them to show their ID, two, if they are not bringing a proper warrant. And so what these sanctuary cities should be doing is their law enforcement should be enforcing the law in order, and the law should be actually being followed by ICE. So the law is not simply related to citizens. The law should be carried out by everyone in the United States, including the president. Right? Now, there is legislation coming out in the Bay that seeks to make face coverings by anyone working for the federal government illegal in the state of California. So all of that to me is an act of, okay, we're doing something very real. So when we're talking about what we are asking of these leaders, we have to get more educated on what is capable. This is why, to bring it back to the Obama conversation, when people argue that Obama couldn't do anything, I understand that to be not true. Because the fact of the matter is, and I saw this on my Patreon this morning, I think it was Sarah who posted this on my Patreon this morning, there's always enough Democrats to get a Republican bill across the aisle and pushed and through Congress, but there's never enough Republicans to get a Democrat bill. Ain't that something? So we have to know better so we can demand better. That's really the thing. Like, we can sit here and complain all day long about these politicians, But if we ourselves are not arming ourselves with the information needed to actively challenge them, then we're just hot air. We're just blowing hot air. If we're not showing up in numbers, if we're not actually doing the due diligence, if we're not, like Isabel said, just making their life annoying by suing them, we are not actually being effective. And there's a multi-pronged approach that is necessary. And teach your kids. Teach your kids about the way that these systems work, because you're probably learning at the same time. So do it together. Do it together. Let's get into our next story. And let's actually get into our 60-second headlines, because we've been here for a while. So that's your critical thinking exercise for today.
"30 seconds of AmandaLand. 60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
All right. Let's show some love to the Palestinian heroes, the engineers who restored the internet in Palestine. The telecom crew was working to fix the internet lines under bombardment and grueling conditions for 4 days straight. The internet lines were, of course, targeted by Israeli airstrikes. And so we saw that the people of Gaza had to use eSIMs. They were not able to get online and talk to us. So the reason why we were able to talk to Dr. Mohammed Al-Allah yesterday was because of these 4 men. Now, I saw people in the comments like, don't put their faces out there. We need to keep them on the low, protect them. I think the other part of it, too, though, is that people want recognition. People want recognition. You know, it's just what it is. So big ups to these incredible engineers for their work and for their due diligence. I think it is immensely... I don't think people really understand sometimes like how nuts it is to be able to like live in your greatness under the threat of death. Right? So shout out to them. Okay. Now, we have heard now about the assassination of Melissa Ann Hortman. She was an American lawyer. She was a Democratic politician from Minnesota. She was a state representative. She was also a farmer. And she was unalived by a white Christian nationalist who, by the way, also took the life of her partner and the life of a whole other state representative's partner. And the state representative himself is now still in critical condition, and who had a list of 70 people that he planned to take the life of. And he was confirmed by his, confirmed is not a word, allegedly by his roommate as a Trump voter. Now, I didn't know anything about Melissa Hortman. On a side note, well, it's not a side note, on a main note, I also don't know enough about her murderer, because he is a white Christian nationalist. And the rhetoric that he is following is the actual rhetoric that the administration of this nation is looking to make the complete ideology of this nation in law, which it has been in the past. So you notice how we're not seeing this story plastered all over the news. We're not seeing a crazy amount of conversations about the pathology that leads someone to do this? No. Now, we always see crazy conversations about the pathology that leads, this idea of Islam terrorism, etc. They had created pathology for slaves escaping. But ultimately, we know that we're not hearing about this man and his psychotic rhetoric because he subscribes. He subscribes to what this nation is ascribing to in a deeper way. And I say deeper because it is always subscribed to it. I saw a video this morning of Melissa Hortman in the House of Representatives in Minnesota. In the State House in Minnesota. And, someone said yesterday, if a Black person makes a statement in support of Zionism, does that make them a lo-fi Black? And I said yes. They said, is one statement can make you a whack Black? And I said yes. And I would venture to say that you can't just name one statement to make somebody a high quality white. However, I will say that I feel with this video, Melissa Hortman makes a great case for her high quality whiteness.
Lady Rice.
Call the House, Mr. Speaker. I hate to break up the 100% white male card game in the retiring room, but I think this is an important debate.
I'm a white male. I respect everybody. But I really believe the comments that were made by the minority leader were really not appropriate. Minority leader, would you apologize to the body?
She will yield. Representative Hortman.
Representative Detmer, I'm glad you asked me to yield. I have no intention of apologizing. I am so tired of watching Representative Susan Allen give an amazing speech, Representative Peggy Flanagan give an amazing speech, watching Representative Jamie Becker-Finn give an amazing speech, Representative Rena Moran give the most heartfelt, incredible speech I've heard on this House floor as long as I can remember, watching Representative Ilhan Omar give an amazing speech, and looking around to see where are my colleagues. And I went in the retiring room, and I saw where a bunch of my colleagues were. And I'm really tired of watching women of color, in particular, being ignored. So I'm not sorry.
I don't know about y'all, but that is some high quality white behavior. Rest in power to Melissa Hortman. And I hope that her words and her legacy continue to reverberate through Minnesota and empower the resistance that has already been at work in Minnesota. I told y'all that the assassinations were going to start. I told you. Not that it matters that I told you. I'm not saying it like you could have done anything about it. I'm just saying. I'm more so just saying that out loud, just to hear myself say it. To kind of like drop a pin in the location of where we are on our descent into fascism. Which brings us to our next story. So we got to switch the cue for an end, and it's Iraq all over again. Iraq, not Iraq, Iraq. I want you to watch this video of Mehdi Hassan and Pierce Morgan. As they give you some context for the nonsense argument that this strike in Iran that is now being responded to in Tel Aviv was a preemptive strike because, Iran has nuclear weapons. And Mehdi is going to show you a great, he's going to give you a great explanation on why that is absolutely complete nonsense. Now, we're also going to talk about how this is not the first time that we have heard this rhetoric, right? A lot of us maybe were younger or we weren't paying attention, but this is not the first time that we're hearing this rhetoric. So that's what we're going to get into. So let's pay attention and listen to this little conversation that's about to happen in 2.2 seconds when it finishes downloading.
On Thursday night from Israel was not a preemptive strike. It was a preventive strike, which is illegal under international law. It's what George Bush and the neocons claimed the Iraq war was against Saddam Hussein, which you and I opposed, rightly so. And that IAEA report does not expose an imminent nuclear threat. It says what you just said it says. It says that they haven't been cooperating very well. It says their level of cooperation has been, quote, less than satisfactory. It says some of their technical answers about their program have lacked credibility. It says they've impeded some of the inspectors. It says that they were working on some kind of military program pre-2003, which is what US intelligence has also said. Those are all bad things, Piers. You and I can both agree those are bad things, and Iran should not be doing those things. And the IAEA board voted to say they're in breach of their obligations. But that's not, report does not say Iran poses an imminent nuclear threat. Your tweet was wrong on Friday.
I think it's as I just said.
Nuclear,
when it says 60% enrichment of uranium, it's the next stage that somebody who wants to create a nuclear bomb, right? So imminent, look, what do I mean by imminent? As I said in the panel, it can be weeks, months, a year, whatever, but they've reached a stage of enrichment.
Can't, Piers.
But they have the capability to take it to another stage and create a bomb.
Yes. So let's find more agreement between us. I agree. That is capability, right? They have enough highly enriched uranium to build up to 9 bombs, I believe. They have 400 kilograms of uranium.
So that is an imminent threat if it's in the wrong hands, right? We can agree on that.
No, it's not. No, it's no.
But why not?
No, because unfortunately having a civil nuclear program is totally fine. Having enriched uranium is fine. The issue is if you weaponize it and have a weapons program. And Tulsi Gabbard, no friend of radical Islam, Donald Trump's director of national intelligence, said in March that the US intelligence community's consensus view is that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, does not have a nuclear weapon, has not authorized a nuclear weapons program.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
The IAEA, Piers, in that report, you must have seen the line in their summary, said there are no credible indications of an ongoing, undeclared, structured nuclear program. Even the IAEA says there's no nuclear weapons program. Their boss, the IAEA chief, Piers, said last week, you cannot attack nuclear facilities in Iran. So, no, it's not an imminent threat. And under international law, Piers, this is the key point. If a weapon is a year away, you cannot say we're under imminent threat. That does not give you a right to self-defense.
Period. You know who has nuclear weapons? The United States. You know who is the only nation to use a nuclear weapon? The United States. What this is really about is always keeping a state of unrest and disordinance in order to use resources. We've seen it in the motherland. We've seen it in East Asia. We're seeing it here. And I think it's the argument is like in your face when Tulsi Gabbard the other day was like, nah, they don't have a weapons program. Now, if you don't believe me that this is just a complete replay, I want you to watch this.
And this is a tyrant who is feverishly trying to acquire nuclear weapons. And today the United States must destroy the same regime because a nuclear-armed Saddam will place the security of our entire world at risk. It is simply not reflecting the reality to assume that Saddam isn't feverishly working to develop nuclear weapons. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Principles of real estate, the three.
For the record, we know now that that is not true. Right? Like, we know that.
Location, location, location. The three principles of winning the war on terror are the three W's: winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier.
This has been disproven, for the record. There was no victory in Iraq. There was no victory in Afghanistan.
Second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier. Nothing less than dismantling his regime will do. Because
hindsight is 2020, right? So, of course, I'm even going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's just saying things here just to try to manipulate, these Americans and feed their insatiable appetite for self. They think that they're so great and awesome, right? So he is using that to his own, for his own desires. However, we are not in this time frame anymore. We're in 2025. So at what point does hindsight actually cause us to use what we know to make better decisions?
Nuclear program has fundamentally changed in those 2 decades. He no longer needs one large reactor to produce the deadly material necessary for atomic bombs. He can produce it in centrifuges the size of washing machines that can be hidden throughout the country. And I want to remind you that Iraq is a very big country. It is not the size of Monte Carlo. It is a big country.
Again, I want to remind you, this is not an American. Well, actually, let me take that back. He is. He's actually from Philadelphia. But I just want to remind you that he is not an American elected official. I just want to always remind you of that. And then when we talk about the Democrats and the Republicans and Obama and all these people, we always have to remember that they were in cahoots with this man. So some might still say, yeah, but what does this have to do with us? Well, were the United States to go along with this, it now leads our armed forces back into a military zone where they have no chance of any level of success, because that's not even the goal. It's just lives being taken. It's just families being disbanded because they're getting sent overseas. And it is families in that region being disbanded and destroyed by the same people whose lives are being destroyed. It's literally pawns. It's pawns. And it's so disheartening to me. And I hope I don't know. I wish for miracles, and I hate that it has to be a miracle. I hate that a large swath of people really realizing what the right thing to do is at the same time and rising up. I wish that wasn't so miraculous. Oh, what's my Moana cup? I wish that wasn't so miraculous, right? And I wish it also wasn't so basic, that it really just be about money and power. Jamel says, child, let me pull out a Baldwin book real quick. Better yet, the autobiography of Malcolm need to reread. And this is why I have to go down to doing the show once a day, because I want to be writing these kinds of books. And I believe I am capable of doing so. I mean, the autobiography of Malcolm X is a different story because, I mean, that's his life. But The Fire Next Time, you know, essays of elevation, notes on a native son. I want to write that for us. And that's part of the work that I'm doing on my Substack. So if you haven't followed my Substack, that's what I'm doing over there. Yeah. So that is the catch up. And, you know, when it comes to Iran, they, like any other place, have been demobilized and destabilized by the United States because they wanted to have the right to their own resources. I mean, that's really what happened. Their democratically elected leader in the 50s, I think it was the 50s and 60s, basically was like, we're going to take back sovereign control of our resources, of our oil. And the US and the UK said, absolutely not. And they did a CIA destabilizing coup. And they implanted Ayatollah Khomeini, who was an exiled cleric who came in, and Iran has never been the same since. So there's that.
AmandaLand. 60-second headline. Gonna run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
We started the show today, you know, talking about Obama because he had come up because I was talking yesterday about just the feeling that people are still looking at our presidents with this element of esteem, and particularly Obama because he was a black man. He is a black man. And I want to just present some other options of leadership to folks, because I think part of the reason why we're still in this cycle is because we don't actually make any demands of our U.S. leadership on a federal level in the way that other nations have seen leadership. And whenever there have been folks that have made those demands, they end up having their lives taken. But I believe that were there to be more people that simply just didn't back down, there's a possibility that you couldn't just simply take their life. You would have to take the lives of so many. Like when we look at leadership, I don't look at any of our United States presidents as some example of leadership. And when I say leadership, I don't just mean being at the table. I mean actually leading a charge for wellness. When I look at someone like Ibrahim Traoré, when I look at Lula in Brazil, or Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, when I look at Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico, I feel like I'm seeing examples of people who have been elected democratically into a position of leadership, who have made it their business to represent as public servants. And I don't see any reason why we cannot consider a different form of leadership in this United States and actually make demands towards it, because we still actually make allowances for something else. We say, oh, that's just not our setup. We say, oh, you know, they have no choice. We say, oh, you know, no one ever does it before. I mean, I've seen people literally say, y'all wanted Obama to do something that you didn't demand white people to do. Yes. Correct. Yes. Why is that an unacceptable expectation? I expect us to be better. Yes. And I want us to first start looking at us as us, but also to really understand the realities around the dynamics of things, and that these people they're not put in place to be leaders. They're just put in place to be placeholders. The same way that the Democratic Party is not an opposition party. It's an in-position party. They're just in position. So I continue to reiterate these points because I continue to live in this truth. And that's just not going to change because I made it here. And once you get to the truth, baby, there really is no turning back.
PSA.
Hey! Well, we were going to talk about Lil Sims and Salt's album, but I'll do it tomorrow. Show your love. Yeah, show your love. Hey, show your love. Yes, show your love. Yo, I said, hit me in the cash app, baby. Drop a super, baby. This has been a great to show. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Y'all. Did you hear how off key I just went? Ooh, that hurt me. That hurt me, y'all. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. I said, hit me in the cash app, baby. Oh my God, I didn't even realize, Cecilia, you put in $100. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. Show your love. Said, if you see anybody in the streets hating on your girl, Amanda Seals, you know what? Just tell them to watch an episode of Views from AmandaLand. If you watch an episode of Views from AmandaLand and you still hate her, then you know what? Go on your merry way. But until then, you can't keep watching edited content by places that seek to create dissension and believe that as your source. It just don't make sense. It's not a valid case. Whew, we're going to need I'm with you, Isabel. We're going to need these 30 seconds of stillness. Yeah. So you guys, I'll be here tomorrow. Who's on the show tomorrow? Let's take a gander and see who is on the show tomorrow. Hold on one second. Why is this not letting me do this? Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. On the show mañana, looking forward to having Serene Sovereign. And it is not in here who our 60-second headline person is. So we'll see. But you guys have a great rest of your day. If you are in the gloom and doom, I feel you. I'm with you because it's gloom and doom where I'm at as well. And it's yucky McNucky. But hopefully the sun will come out soon. The sun will come out tomorrow.
30 seconds of stillness.
I enjoyed laughing and learning with you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell your friends. Also, listen to the podcast. It's available everywhere pods are casted. Listen ad-free by subscribing to Patreon Amanda Seals. Come on and join the Seals Squad. Views from AmandaLand, live 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday, with content on Thursday and Friday at YouTube Amanda Seals TV.